city of LA has been on fire for several days now, and it's because flat out Democrats are stupid. The Democrat Party, they're stupid and they are evil, and they want everyone to believe that the reason that things are out of control is because of Donald Trump. Well, first of all, what we need to do is take a look at the recent polling data regarding this whole immigration issue. Now, according to recent polls, overwhelmingly, right, no matter which poll you look at, most Americans wanted the border closed, they wanted it secure, and they wanted individuals who are in this country illegally deported. Yes, I get it. Trump said he was only going to go after the criminals and the sex traffickers and the drug dealers and all that stuff and the gang members. Yes, that part is true too. But Americans do not want to take care of illegal immigrants. We don't want our taxpayer dollars being used to subsidize another class of government dependents. So the jury is out, and it's been settled that Donald Trump is doing what he was elected to do. Well, Democrats, for some reason that I will uncover and explain in this episode, they do not want illegals deported. Well, first of all, we need to take a look at the recent polling data regarding the American sentiment regarding this immigration issue. And when you look at recent polls, overwhelmingly, most Americans, they wanted the border closed. They wanted it secure. They wanted Donald Trump to be the man to do it. And they want individuals who are in this country illegally deported. That is not up for debate. And I know a lot of people are like, yeah, but he said he was only going to go after the criminals and the drug dealers and the sex traffickers. Yes, that is true. That is true. But when you poll and ask most Americans, here is where the rubber meets the road. Most Americans do not want to take care of and subsidize another class of government dependents. We don't want our taxpayer dollars being used to take care of these migrants. Even though they're illegal immigrants, but people want to call them migrants, it doesn't make me any difference. And so the Democrats, for reasons that I'm going to uncover later in this episode, they don't want illegals deported because these illegals are useful to them. I'll explain in the sense that what caused things to go left over in LA was the moment that these peaceful protests, even though they never really started out peaceful, when these protesters stormed ICE facilities and vandalized federal buildings and assaulted federal officers, that is when things escalated from this local issue to now you're dealing with a federal crime. So according to the Department of Homeland Security, over 1,000 rioters attacked ICE officers. They slashed tires. They defaced taxpayer-funded property. That's my property. Okay, if my taxpayer funds were used, if it's government federally funded, that's my stuff. Okay, so when you cross that federal line, you've entered into insurrection territory. So what I want to do now, we need to take a look at a few of these clips. So let's check it out.
ICE, we ain't afraid of you! ICE, we ain't afraid of you!
Chaos in Los Angeles. Stores looted, cars burnt to a crisp, and American flags torched. Anarchists and dirt bikes are waving Mexican flags around LA while the city's engulfed in flames. And they love this country so much that they're waving the flag. So why do they hate the idea of being sent back? This doesn't look like assimilation. This looks like what it is, an invasion. This all started Friday afternoon. ICE agents were assisting a federal drug and money laundering raid in downtown LA, when all of a sudden, dozens of protesters showed up and clashed with officers on the scene. The mayor of Los Angeles didn't stop it. She told LAPD to stand down for hours and hung federal agents out to dry. Karen Bass told Trump, "Keep your hands off my Biden migrants."
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
While rioters were raising hell, Democrats chose sides.
I stepped out of LA so that order can be restored.
If they're escalating their tactics,
then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
By Saturday morning, cop cars were getting pelted with rocks, and officers had to start deploying tear gas. The media told us, don't worry, the protests are mostly peaceful.
Most of the crowds, again, that I saw, that I spoke to, that I was interacting with, these are peaceful people that want to get their message across.
Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful.
The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles.
What did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot.
What about the cars on fire? ABC says it's just people having fun.
There's a large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
No, police weren't having fun. The chief of LA County says he was outmanned.
We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people.
By 6 o'clock on Saturday, the city was on fire, and Trump had to call in 2,000 National Guard for backup. Now it's up to 4,000. Trump didn't wait for permission from the governor like the last summer of love. Now there's a new policy. When they spit, we hit.
If we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order. When they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Protesters liked spitting, but they didn't like.
Listen, this is so hard for me to watch because I have been doing so much research on the history of the Democratic Party, and I've been doing so much research into what happened in the Civil War, the brutality of the Civil War, and just how tyrannical the Democrat Party has always been. They've always been this party of rebels and revolutionaries. But what I want to do now is I want to talk to you a little bit about why is it that the Democrats need these illegals? And there's an ugly truth that I just kind of have to talk about because the Democrats won't say this out loud. And I'm trying to understand for the life of me why Republicans don't say it. I love you, Jesse Waters, appreciate you and all the work that you're doing over there, you and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham. But somebody, anybody, please go on and give your girl a call so I can get on Fox News and explain to you why the heck these Democrats are saying the things that they're saying, and why is it that the Republicans are not exposing them and telling the truth? So since I'm free and no one owns me and I'm free to say whatever the heck I want to say, I'm just going to go ahead and peep everybody here on game. The Democrats are fighting to keep these illegals in this country because they need illegal immigrants, not because they care about them, because they want to give these people a better life. That is not it. They need these illegals because these illegals represent congressional power. I'm not sure how many of you guys knew this, but the census, they count bodies, not citizenship. So more bodies mean more congressional seats. More seats mean more federal money and more control. If you look at what's been happening to Democrat cities for the past 8 years, these Democrat cities are bleeding citizens. People are leaving these cities and states in droves because of the high crime, because of the high taxes, because of the government overreaching, the crazy Green New Deal policies. It's just not friendly to business. There's so many reasons why they have lost people. So their solution is we got to replace this tax base with illegals since we can't generate revenue within the state The illegals will give us the appropriation that we need from federal money in order to expand our congressional districts, more bodies, more seats, and then more federal money. And so they are turning it into a literal socialistic hellhole. But these sanctuary cities are nothing more than slave recruitment centers.
I find it interesting, and I don't care if you're on the left or right, that we have starving people in America and our systems are overrun, yet all our politicians talk about is immigration, immigration, immigration. And this is happening to every single Western country at the exact same time, even as people living in these countries beg for it to stop. Legal immigration, illegal immigration. Does it really matter if the people in your country aren't being helped? Why would you import more people in if the system is already failing the people that live in the country? And the answer to that question is we're being Cloward Pivened. Allow me to introduce you to the Cloward Piven 8-point plan to implement socialism. Forcibly, of course, because if you ask the people if they wanted this, they would say no. Step 1, healthcare. Control healthcare and you control the people. 2, poverty. Increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you're providing everything for them to live. 3, debt. Increase the debt to an unsustainable level. That way, you're able to increase taxes, and this will produce more poverty. 4, pew-pew control. Remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. That way, you're able to create a police state. 5, welfare. Take control of every aspect of their lives. So food, housing, income, you name it. 6, education. Take control of what people read and listen to. Take control of what children learn in school. So maybe like Marxism. When Karl Marx's object in life was to dethrone God and destroy capitalism. He was a really great dude. 7, religion. Oh, there we go. Remove the belief in God from the government and school. Last but not least, 8, class warfare. Divide the people into the wealthy and the poor. This will cause more discontent and it will be easier to take or tax the wealthy with the support of the poor. Essentially, this is the goal with the mass unregulated immigration. They want to overburden all capitalist societies until they collapse. Then, conveniently, they'll be ready to reinstate a global government to be able to help you out and give everyone universal basic income. And in this day and age, I imagine that would be done with digital currencies, meaning if you go against the system, they can instantly wipe it in a second. Nothing you own is really yours. Both Cloward and Piven were evil, and they both knew that things like welfare, similar to the free bread given out in Rome before its fall, actually weakened the poor because it gave them a social safety net that allowed for them to essentially be lazy. I think during the pandemic, when they gave out checks, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do to help people, but what I'm saying is when they gave that out and the checks people were getting for unemployment paid more than what they got to work, well, of course, no one wants to work. Because people are much easier to control when they love their slavery, or when they live in fear, or they expect the government to pick them up and save them in any given crisis. And since capitalism, though it does have its flaws, and by the way, what y'all have a problem with capitalism now is we don't have capitalism. We don't have free markets. We have government-granted monopolies, which means we have corporatocracies. Basically, if we were to implement socialism, and here's my best explanation for why it wouldn't work, name me one politician you trust giving complete and total control. And I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, I hope your answer to that question is none of them. I see people talk about how all the Western politicians are incompetent. Would you be willing to consider the idea that they're not incompetent, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're just evil? Because socialism is giving the government more control to solve the problems the government created so that you would need to give them more power to solve them. So it's a completely manufactured problem that could be solved tomorrow if you had leaders or people that cared about you. If you distrust your government, then you should distrust them enough to not allow them to take your resources and redistribute them, because you know they're not going to do that fairly. And since America is still the richest country in the world, capitalism actually wasn't creating enough poor people in order to make the revolutionaries needed to overthrow and overburden the system. So that's why they're bringing in mass unregulated groups of people from socialist countries and putting them on welfare to strain and collapse the system. This is all done on purpose. These people hate nothing more than individualism and self-sufficiency because freedom is their enemy. Your enemy is them. The people that are inside your government that are trying to destroy this country and screw over every single person in it. The most dangerous thing in America, according to our politicians, is putting America first.